Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. Over 250,000 shows watched on NTNM. You'll find all the links to get you to YouTube, Sonny HTV. You can sign up and subscribe and get all the shows as they first come out and be the first kid on your block to be able to watch the new Northtown News Magazine segments. Community Policing, caps24.org. Sonny Hirsch in his spare time is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And he runs the caps24.org website. Community policing meetings for West Rogers Park are over for the year. Our next meeting is going to be in January. So check the schedule. We meet the second Thursdays at 7 o'clock. And we haven't made the schedule up for next year, so you'll have to consult caps24.org. I like to go to the Republican Jewish Coalition every once in a while and try to find, there aren't that many Republicans in Cook County, period, let alone Jewish ones, but I do try to dig up, a combination of both. And the Republican Jewish Coalition had a very interesting meeting last month in which Ari Fleischer, Bush's former press secretary, appeared. And I met the next gentleman over there, and he is even a rarer creature, a Republican in Hyde Park, who's running for state representative, and that's Coby Hakalir. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. You did a great job.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, we so I live in North Kenwood, not Hyde Park.
Oh,
just
sorry
north
about
of Hyde.
that.
That's okay. That's okay. And that's important to note because the 26th district that I'm running in is gerrymandered out of Hyde Park. So it's from the Gold Coast all the way down to 89th Street, with the exception of the Hyde Park area.
It's that long?
It is that long, yeah.
Wow.
And it's also, as long as it is, it's also that thin because they've just incorporated every type of demographic they could to make sure that it stays a Democrat seat. And so what we're doing now, and this is part of a coordinated effort with the Chicago GOP and the state Republican Party, is to make sure that we have candidates in a lot of the different districts, both state representative and Senate, that are traditionally Democrat, that have traditionally been only put candidates up by the Democratic machine and have in most cases never had a Republican candidate. And so I'm running as part of that effort to make sure that we turn the tide. People are unhappy with what's going on in Chicago. People are unhappy with what's going on in the state of Illinois. And the more I'm out there talking to voters, and what I've been doing the last 3 months is gauging the temperature of many Democratic voters who are extremely unhappy with the status quo. They realize that a party that's billed itself the Progressive Party has done the opposite of make progress in Chicago and in Illinois.
Well, if there's any question, I think between people like Obama and Madigan and Cullerton, they're building a new generation of Republicans for the ages.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, I think that's one of the thing that's most on people's mind is, hey, we voted for not only a Democratic president, not only a black president who's a Democrat, but also someone who's our neighbor, who's right here from the city of Chicago, and we'd expected things to have changed, not to have 30% unemployment, 45% underemployment, while the president goes around talking about how great it is that the economy is improving under his watch and unleashing programs like Obamacare that most people are not benefiting from, and in fact the opposite. So there's dissatisfaction. There's dissatisfaction with the mayor of Chicago as well.
Dissatisfied is a nice way to put how I feel about him. Yeah.
I'm trying to be polite for television.
Yeah, I basically don't consider him a Democrat. I consider him a member of the fascist party. So,
Okay. And I think that, one of the things, you said it's rare to find a Republican on the south side of Chicago, but I think that more and more people are starting to realize that the Democratic Party has not delivered what they've promised all these years. The party of entitlement reform, the party of big government, they've delivered that. They've delivered, entitlement, they've delivered entitlement, and they've delivered big government, and now we're seeing the benefits of that, the opposite of the benefits of that. And I think people are starting to realize that if you keep putting the same politicians in office over and over again without any accountability, that you're going to get bad results. If somebody doesn't have to do a good job in order to keep their job, their motives are to not do so. So they're not going to do a good job. They're going to do whatever they have to, the minimum, just to keep their job. And so we're offering, or we hope to offer people in the state a choice, and that's to vote for somebody who's going to come in who actually lives in the community, is actually walking around the community, talking to voters and saying, hey, what are your problems? What are you upset about? And how can we help to fix this? And we want to make sure that it's known that the Republican Party, the GOP, is the great opportunity party, and not a party that people feel is taking things away from them constantly. And that's been the error in the Republican Party as far as messaging goes.
There's been a lot of problems with the messaging, but you know what? I like looking at cold hard facts, and I was looking at something that I believe the Illinois Policy Institute put out, and actually they were taking state figures, so it wasn't their creating the figures, but I was looking at the percentage of pensions that were paid in statewide at certain points in time over the last 30, 40 years, and I noticed that the pension in 2003, which was the end of the Edgar regime, okay, there was 73% of the pensions were paid in, which is much more livable than the abysmal, who knows what the real number is now. It may not be 50%. It's certainly $100 billion in debt, and some people say it's much more than that. But in 2003, before Blagojevich came in, the figure was at 73%, which at least is close to livable and something that you can make up much more easily. During the Blagojevich years, and followed by the Quinn years, and actually that wasn't the end of Edgar, that was the end of Ryan, I should say, in 2003.
That's right.
But during those years, we've gone from 73%, and if we're not south of 50, we're pretty close.
Yeah, pension reform, and in fact, if you go back to the Edgar administration, at that point, the state treasurer's office, in talking to Kirk Dillard about this, who was the chief of staff for Edgar, they paid their bills in about 17 days. We've got about $8 billion in unpaid bills right now. And so that's a big factor when you think about where unemployment is at in the state of Illinois, and specifically in Chicago. Corporations don't want to come here. Corporations can't afford to come here. When you've got corrupt government, when you've got financial mismanagement, why would you want to set up shop in a place where you have no idea if your taxes are going to go up, if your regulation is going to change, which is going to elicit more money for licensing? And so we don't have a stable base of an economy here in order to promote growth. We're 48th in the country in job creation. So instead of creating jobs, which in turn are going to create revenue, we're chasing the middle class away because we're closing schools, and now we're sticking our hands deeper into the voters' pockets by putting up speed cameras and red light cameras every chance we get. Divvy bikes are great, but they're not going to solve the problem. We need actual financial managers in this state.
And by the way, the divvy bikes are actually costing the city a whole bunch of money when it doesn't have any.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying from a revenue base. It's a nice thing to offer.
It is a nice thing to offer,
but I think most parents would rather have a good school that they can send their child to without risk of being shot on the way.
No, that would be a very nice thing. There's no question about it. And that's not to mention, too, that's a really good point. Illinois' financial rating is the same as that of some third world countries.
Yeah, yeah, and
and declining. We're declining, not them.
And we're sitting here today in one of the greatest cities in the world, and also one of the most corrupt and financially mismanaged cities. So it's a shame. So we're hoping that we can bring the Republican Party back to some sense of strength back in Illinois, and we're hoping that if we can do that and play off of the successes that the Republican Party has had in the past in Illinois, we can convince voters that that we're the right way to go, and that, or at least, at the very least, there's a different way to go than what we're doing now, which is not working.
Well, there is a different way to go, and it's a very reasonable way to go. And in fact, in Jewish Chicago last time around, I'm not really a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, I like to be objective. But the fact is, an objective look at the situation in Springfield tells me that you've got a Democratic governor, you've got a Democratic Senate, you've got a Democratic House, and they're veto-proof. And they not only can't agree on anything, they are torpedoing the state worse than they've ever been torpedoed, and the idea of continuing to vote for these people is beyond me.
Well, if you look at just one subject, and whether or not you're for or against gay marriage, and it doesn't really matter for this point. So, but the point is that you have Democrats all over the state talking about how they want gay marriage. They want gay marriage to come to Illinois. They feel like marriage equality is important. It's a big issue for them. Yet you have a Democrat governor, you have a Democrat Senate, and you have a Democrat House who have not passed it. So the lesson there is that you have politicians up and down the state just giving lip service to voters, not even caring if they're held accountable or not for their words. So on that one issue alone, that should give enough information to voters to say, obviously this party says one thing, does another. It's time for a change.
And it would be nice if it was these guys, you put it well, these guys are so corrupt, it's unbelievable. And, you know, anyway, okay, so if you have a campaign site, I assume?
I do, and it would be great if you visited us at www.friendsofcoby.com. You can learn more about me on there.
Wait, Coby is spelled C-O-B-Y?
C-O-B-Y, friendsofcoby.com. And hopefully you can come onto the site, learn a little bit more about what we're doing. Yeah, we'd love for you to visit us, and please send us an email, and we'd love to reply and tell you a little bit more about what we're trying to do in Illinois.
No, that sounds good. And listen, I'd like to invite you back again because, frankly, there aren't, and I wish there were Republicans running in every single, you know, we should have contested elections everywhere. There's no question about it. And, you know, considering how bad the financial plight of Illinois is, and what does Forbes give us, 50 out of 50?
It's only because the numbers don't go any lower.
That's very true. I hate to say it. But, you know, like everybody, you know, Moody's has downgraded us numerous times during the present administration. And they're threatening to downgrade us again. So, you know, something's really got to be done about this. And, you know, we're talking about 10 years of unobstructed Democratic rule at this point have really not done the state very good. So whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you know, you've got to be objective about these things. You know, this isn't such life and death. The media likes to point out one individual who's an extreme, but it's not representative of the majority of people on either side of the equation. The fact is, most people are somewhat reasonable, and it would be very nice if we had some reasonable people who actually were solution-oriented available to do something good in the state.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay. Well, Coby Hakalir, thank you very much for coming. We'd like to get you back on again, you know, before the election.
Thank you.
And want to wish you a lot of good luck in this election. I want to thank all of you for being here today on the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Our next show, by the way, is actually going to be our 700th show. So that'll be pretty cool. I have no idea who that guest is going to be.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. I want to, like I said, I forgot if I said it, but thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, everybody. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.